If you're actively interviewing and you finally land a job, congratulations. But as you get the job offer, you might notice the company has done some interesting things with the terms and conditions. So you might want to be careful with the following perks. Hey everybody, it's Brian from A Life After Layoff, and today I want to share with you some things that companies do in the job offer that you might want to be a little bit careful of. Because when you go through the offer process, especially in a market that's not quite as advantageous to the employee, companies have been known to do some interesting things with offers to try to get you to sign on the dotted line. And it's not always in your best interest. So in this video, I'm going to break down 6 job offer perks that you should be careful of. But before we get too far into it, if you're interested in additional tips on how to take control and start to act like the CEO of your career, consider signing up for my free weekly newsletter. And in it, I deliver short but actionable tips each and every week to help you unlock the power of your career. So make sure you don't miss it. Remember, it's absolutely free. Okay, so as you get the offer, you might be reviewing some terms and conditions and trying to make sense of what it is that they're offering. And there might be a few line items that they'll slide in as part of their overall package that try to get you to sign the dotted line. And this might be especially true if your base salary is a little lower than you expected, but there's other things that they claim will take its place. So what are the things that you should be looking for? Well, first and foremost, be aware of what unlimited vacation actually is. On the surface, unlimited vacation sounds like an amazing benefit. You can take as much time as you want. You don't have to worry about vesting for all those years just to get another week's worth of vacation. Then you can take that big long trip that you'd been planning on, but you didn't quite have the vacation to cover it. But not so fast. There's a dark side to this unlimited vacation policy that so many companies are moving to. So you have to ask yourself the question, why is it that all of these companies are trying to move to an unlimited vacation program? And it's not because it benefits the employee. It's because it benefits the company mostly. Now, this isn't to say that all companies are trying to screw their employees over by doing this, because some companies actually implement unlimited vacation programs very effectively, and it can be very advantageous for both the employee and the employer. However, how I have experienced it in my own career and how I've seen it happen in a lot of different companies with a lot of different clients is the people who have unlimited vacation actually take less time off than people who have a defined benefit plan. And then you think about it, when you have this unlimited vacation, there's this expectation that's kind of unwritten that you only take what you need. And if you abuse it, then you don't want to get a reputation or get on some sort of a list. So people tend to be more reluctant to take their vacation. And when you actually tally up the days that a person would take over the course of a year, it's usually less than if they had a defined program that expired at a certain period of time. Not to mention, with a defined program, you get a certain number of days allocated to you each year. Some cases, you'll be able to roll them over to the following year if you don't use them all. And then when you leave the organization, you can usually claim all that as unpaid compensation. They'll pay you out and you go off on your merry way. But with an unlimited vacation program, all of that vesting goes away. There's no bank of vacation that an employer tallies up and pays you out should you decide to leave the company. In fact, most companies who've adopted these programs don't record keep at all, and that's one of the benefits of it to them. They don't have to go through the administration process for checking it, and they don't have to pay you out at the end. But if I'm considering an offer that has an unlimited vacation program, I want to make sure that I'm getting some verified commitments from the company about what's the expectation and what's the average number of days the department uses throughout the year. Because you want to make sure that you understand what their expectation is and that hopefully there's at least a minimum number of days that they want people to take each and every year. So make sure you get that clarified before you get too enamored with the idea of having this unlimited vacation bucket, because the reality is it's not truly unlimited. Next up is stock options. And if you have an equity stake in the business, especially if it's a company that's in pre-IPO, in other words, they haven't gone to market yet, so the stock options are literally just a piece of paper saying you have the rights to a particular amount of shares, that stock option is worth nothing if the company doesn't go to market, or if you get laid off or leave the company before those certain vesting periods happen. And this is a very common thing, especially with startups and other types of companies, where they'll load down offers with a bunch of essentially worthless stock options that look really great on paper, but the chances of them actually paying out are pretty slim, especially considering the average tenure of a person is probably, I don't know, 3 years in a company. And if the equity event doesn't happen for at least 5 to 7 years out, if at all, then you're probably never going to see that money. So if you're making a decision based on an equity stake in a business, just keep that in mind, that that is a dynamic, and I would make sure that the base salary makes sense for me first and foremost. Same thing goes for sign-on bonuses. Now, typically a sign-on bonus is paid when you're leaving a bonus behind at another company. Say maybe a month or 2 months from now, you're going to get paid out on a bonus, or you stand to get paid out on a bonus. That's oftentimes when a company will look at a sign-on bonus to make you whole so that the decision is a little easier for you. But if that's not the case, sometimes companies will offer you a signing bonus in lieu of the base salary, and that's one that you want to watch as well, because what that means is they only have to pay it out one time. You want those dollars in your base salary, so just think about that when you're considering the offer that's in front of you. The next thing to be very careful of is 401ks with matches. If you're making a decision based on a 401k with a match, it's very similar to the stock options in that there's usually long vesting periods there. So if they dangle this benefit in front of you saying, hey, we have this great match and you should consider that as part of your total compensation, again, just factor in how long you need to be there to actually lay claim to that money should you leave. And oftentimes those vesting periods are very long. And so if you leave the company in say 2 years, you'll probably be pretty disappointed by the amount of money that's actually in your 401k from that match. So just eyes wide open with that one as well. The next perk that you often will see slipped into an offer to try to incentivize you is this idea of a hybrid work schedule. And this is usually in place of a remote work setting where the person could sit 100% remote, but the company's forcing them back into the office, and they'll try to incentivize or sweeten the pot by saying, well, this is a hybrid. In some cases, you'll actually see companies that will do the old bait and switch. They'll advertise for a remote job. You apply to it thinking that that's the case, but then they throw a bomb at you saying, well, it's actually hybrid. You got to come into the office 3 days a week, but you can work from home 2 days a week. And I wish employers would understand that hybrid is different than remote work. It is not the same thing. You cannot pitch that it's a remote job if you're required to live in a certain geographic region, or if you're required to go to a work location a certain number of days per week or per month. So if you're considering an offer like this, just keep that in mind. And if it's hybrid, it means that they're probably not entirely comfortable with a remote first setting, and it may be a thing today, but it's not necessarily guaranteed for tomorrow. So eyes wide open there as well. Final thing I'd be wary and careful of is the promise of getting paid at some point in the future, because they might say, well, we're going to bring you in at this certain rate, which is below what your expectation is. Then after 6 months or 9 months, we'll revisit how it's going and we'll look at your salary at that point in time and maybe make an adjustment, maybe not. And if that's something that they're promising you, you should go into it expecting that you're not going to see a pay raise at the 6 month or 9 month mark. That oftentimes is just a proverbial carrot that they're dangling just in front of you to try to get you to bite on a less than desirable offer. And I've also seen organizations do the same thing with job titles or the possibility of promotions. So again, eyes wide open with these things. You may want to make sure that everything is in writing. Even then, that might not be enough. But as you move through the offer process, you want to make sure that you're acting like the CEO of your career and making sure that you're negotiating with a position of strength and giving yourself every advantage that you can, and holding firm to companies who are trying to play around with offers and get cute with things. Keep in mind, perks are nice if everything else makes sense, but they shouldn't be in replace of the most important things, which is a quality of work-life balance, what your compensation is, and the quality of the benefits package that they offer. So just keep that in mind when you're considering that offer. But if you're somebody that's in an active offer process, or you're somebody that's struggling to even get to an offer, that's actually something that I specialize in. I actually created a course called the Ultimate Job Seeker Bootcamp, and it takes you from job search all the way through the interview process, all the way to getting to the offer, and it breaks down each step in great detail. I give you a ton of tips and techniques on how to negotiate the best possible offer for yourself so that you don't leave a single dime on the table. So if you're in an active offer process right now and you want a little help to make sure that you're not leaving any money on the table, that course is worth the price of admission just for that alone. And if you need more one-on-one help with a specific situation, I do offer some private one-on-one coaching, so you can reach me through my website for that. Anyhow, if you've gotten to the offer process, congratulations. You're almost to the finish line, so you should feel good about it, but just make sure that you're acting with authority and acting in control of your career, just like the CEO. Appreciate you watching, and like always, we'll see you on the next one.